That's right, last night, the triumphant return of the product herself, Angel Reese, finally made her way back to the court. Funny, a lot of questions going on out there around Angel the last month or so. Like, what in the bleep is going on? Exactly, why aren't you playing in games? We heard it was a back injury.
The Chicago skies sold it like a fairy tale comeback. Billboards lit up, pink hashtags flooded timelines. Welcome back, Barbie. Angel Reese wasn't just rejoining the team. She was marketed as the savior, the one who dragged Chicago's season back from the edge. But the game didn't play out like the script. Yes, she scored 19, grabbed boards, dropped dimes, but none of that trended. What did? Her getting stuffed at the rim, replayed, memed, and mocked across social media. In one night, the Sky's rescue mission became a reality check. And now the question isn't just about Angel Reese's performance, it's about whether Chicago has built their future on a superstar or on a storyline that's already starting to crack. Chicago didn't just bring Angel Reese back, they staged a spectacle. The Sky turned their social media into a full-blown billboard campaign. Pink letters, glossy graphics, hashtags screaming, "Welcome back, Barbie." This wasn't about a player returning from injury, it was a sales pitch for salvation. And for a moment, it landed. Fans buzzed like it was playoff season.
Angel low in her head. Oh, Matt has liked her spots here and likes her chances there.
Reporters wrote it like the franchise had just been reborn. The Sky weren't selling game 35 of a struggling year. They were selling a hero's coronation. But then came the reality check. Wintrust Arena can hold nearly 10,000. On Angel's big night, just over 6,700 showed up. A good crowd? Sure, but not the electric sellout Chicago's campaign promised. It was less coronation, more dress rehearsal, flash without the frenzy. And when the game finally started, that gap between hype and reality didn't shrink.
Quitting again. It appears you're quitting again just because your team not good. Just like rookie year, once you realized you stood no chance to win rookie of the year, you quit. You're quitting unrivaled. It looked like it was happening again. But look what we have here. Look what we have here. Angel Reese has been found. She has surfaced.
It grew play by play, possession by possession. On paper, Angel Reese's return looks solid. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Respectable numbers for someone who hadn't touched the court in nearly a month. But numbers don't trend, moments do. And the moment that defined her night wasn't a bucket, it was humiliation. Seattle's Ezi Magbagor sent Reese's shot flying, and within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Not highlights, not her points, that block. It became a meme factory, drowning out every positive stat Chicago tried to sell.
And Elizabeth Williams forces a turnover. Banna with her head up to Angel Reese. Can't put it away.
That's the double-edged sword of hype. Reese barked after routine plays, flexed the bravado that made her a star, but when she slipped, the fall echoed louder. What was billed as a hero's return unraveled into a Twitter roast session, side-by-side edits mocking the hype versus the reality. And the scoreboard didn't help. Chicago dropped their 5th straight, falling to 8-26, sinking further from relevance.
We're so back! Bang! Hexagon, polygon, octagon, it don't matter! Turn it on for pecan! Butter pecan! Bang! Rebound. Bang! Hasn't played in 3 weeks. Maybe her legs are fresh. She can jump higher. No! Bang! She's played in 24 games this year. She's been blocked 48 times! According to my advanced analytics, she's getting 2 bang-bangs per game. Bang bang!
By the final buzzer, the story was written. Angel Reese could fill a box score, but she couldn't stop the bleeding. At least not yet. Angel Reese's return wasn't just about one night on the court. It was about the bet Chicago made months ago. When they drafted her, the Sky didn't treat her as a building block. They treated her as the blueprint. The message was clear. This team wasn't waiting for a slow rebuild. They were putting it all on Reese, right now. Their moves proved it. They shipped out Sonia Citron, a top pick oozing long-term potential, for Washington's veteran guard Ariel Atkins. And here's the twist. While Citron is thriving with the Mystics, quietly making a case for Rookie of the Year, Chicago is left watching her from a distance, stuck with a roster that hasn't delivered. On paper, the plan looked flawless. Give Reese the spotlight, surround her with veterans, fast-track the playoff chase. But paper doesn't win games. Reality hit harder. Chicago didn't turn into a contender. They didn't even level out. Instead, they spiraled. One of the league's worst records. Playoff dreams dead before summer. And that's where the criticism gets sharp. Reese wasn't just asked to play, she was asked to carry, to lead, to prove she was the cornerstone Chicago sold to its fans. But the numbers, they paint a harsher story. And just when the pressure started boiling, she vanished. If the Sky's struggles weren't enough, the biggest cloud hanging over Angel Reese's season came when she simply vanished. Nearly a month went by without her on the court. The official word? A back injury. But the way it was handled only fueled suspicion. Normally, when a franchise cornerstone goes down, there are updates, practice footage, sideline appearances, something to reassure fans. With Reese, there was nothing. No rehab clips, no visible presence on the bench, no concrete timeline. Instead, reporters were left repeating vague lines from the team, like Coach Tyler Marsh saying, "If Angel didn't say, that's her story to tell." And when Reese finally spoke, she didn't mention therapy sessions, treatments, or medical progress. She said it was a chance to learn a lot about myself. For supporters, that sounded like a young star taking time to reset. For critics, it came off tone deaf, especially as Chicago kept losing. To them, it didn't sound like an injury. It sounded like quitting. The timing made it worse. Her absence covered 7 full games, right when Chicago was still clinging to faint playoff hopes. Every missed start carried extra weight. And when she returned, there was no slow buildup. She played 26 minutes, nearly her full workload, and put up efficient numbers, which only added fuel to the fire. If her back was so bad, how did she come back without missing a step? That silence, that vagueness, created a vacuum, and fans filled it with their own narratives, quitting, checking out, prioritizing self over team. Once that perception takes hold, it doesn't matter what the truth is, the damage is done. And that leads to the uncomfortable question critics can't stop asking: has Angel Reese ever proven she's actually a winner? Angel Reese has been marketed as a winner from the very beginning. From college dominance to draft night, the narrative around her was simple. She brings a championship mindset wherever she goes. But in the pros, that story hasn't matched reality. She's now played 2 seasons without leading a team to the postseason. In fact, every time the conversation shifts toward Reese the winner, critics are quick to bring up the same receipts. Chicago hasn't looked like a playoff team with her. Unrivaled, the off-season league she signed onto didn't get finished. And her rookie year? She checked out when Rookie of the Year slipped out of reach. Each time the pressure spikes, the ending looks the same. Reese fades, and the critics call it quitting. Even her raw numbers, 14 points and 12 rebounds a night, don't silence the noise. Those stats pop on a highlight graphic, but the wins don't follow. And sometimes, the Sky even look more balanced without her. That doesn't mean she alone is dragging the team down. It's clearly a messy roster issue. But in sports, perception can be just as damaging as the truth. And the perception right now is brutal. Angel Reese might fill a box score, but she hasn't proven she can fill the win column. And that gap between numbers and results is exactly what makes the Indiana Fever comparison so painful for Chicago fans. While Chicago has been spinning its wheels, the Indiana Fever have quietly been writing the opposite story. They've dealt with injuries, roster shakeups, and their own growing pains, but instead of unraveling, they've shown resilience. And at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Clark has turned every Fever game into must-see TV. Even when she's banged up or not at her best, fans pack arenas just to see her compete. Reporters point out how attendance spikes wherever she goes. And the difference is clear. People don't just show up for Clark. They leave believing in the Fever as a team. Beside her, Aaliyah Boston has been the steady anchor Chicago wishes they had. Night after night, she delivers double-doubles, bullying her way into the paint and giving Indiana the foundation they can always count on. Add in Kelsey Mitchell dropping 38 in an overtime thriller, Lexi Hull hustling on defense, and Sophie Cunningham bringing toughness. Suddenly, the Fever look like a unit that fights through adversity instead of folding under it. That's the gap between the two franchises. Chicago built its identity around marketing a savior. Indiana built theirs around competing, no matter the circumstances. One team put their future in the hands of a single narrative. The other built a culture. And fans can feel the difference. Fever games don't just draw crowds, they generate a buzz, the kind that feels organic, earned, and lasting. For Chicago, that comparison is the worst-case scenario, because every time the Fever rise, it shines a spotlight on how much the Sky have stalled. From the moment Angel Reese arrived, Chicago sold her as more than a rookie. She was the brand. Pink lettering, bold slogans, endless campaigns. Every soundbite, every roster move, every social post pointed in the same direction. This was Angel's team. She wasn't just supposed to play for the Sky, she was supposed to save them. But the truth is harder to market. Chicago sits at 8-26, already eliminated from playoff contention. Their big offseason gamble backfired. Their trades look worse by the week, and the savior they promised hasn't delivered the transformation they advertised. Instead of the centerpiece of a contender, Reese now finds herself at the center of a debate. Is she truly a franchise cornerstone, or just a symbol the front office used to buy time with fans? Because that's what stings most for supporters. They weren't just sold a player, they were sold a dream. They were told this team had turned the corner, that Angel Reese was the missing piece to make them relevant again. But as the season dragged on, the marketing started to feel less like inspiration and more like illusion. The banners promised wins. The court told a different story. And when your franchise is remembered more for a viral block than a playoff push, it raises an ugly question. Was all this hype about building a future or covering up the present? Angel Reese's return was supposed to change everything. The banners, the posts, the speeches, all of it promised a hero's comeback. Instead, what fans got was another loss, another skid in the standings, and a viral highlight that belonged to the other team. Chicago gambled its future on the idea that Reese could be the centerpiece of a winner. But today, the Sky are still buried at the bottom of the league, still searching for an identity that marketing alone can't provide. Meanwhile, just a few states away, the Indiana Fever are showing what real growth looks like. Packed arenas, a roster that fights through adversity, and stars who elevate everyone around them. That's the painful contrast. One team is building a culture. The other is clinging to a campaign. So now the question falls to you. Is Angel Reese truly the franchise cornerstone Chicago needs, or just a mirage built on hype and headlines? Do her numbers prove she contributes to winning, or do they mask the reality that this team isn't moving forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every one. And if you want more deep dives into the stories behind the box scores, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Because this season might be over for Chicago, but the conversation about Angel Reese, that's just getting started.